That's actually the name of my Wi-Fi is Ghostbusters
Oh,
HQ.
awesome! That's so cool. I kind of think of like them as kind of
Artlist.io. Check, you can tell me none. Boss mode in effect, and my money long. If you ain't talking money, don't talk to me. I'll be over here. Music.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Paranormal Addicts Podcast, episode 19. We've actually made it 19 episodes, Chris. Can you believe it? 19 episodes. Our guest today is Joshua. So, Joshua, introduce yourself to everybody, and then we will get
sure.
started.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. How are you today? It is a pleasure to having you on the show. I'm looking forward to introducing myself and who I am and my team, and I'm looking forward to answering any questions that come in from your end and from your listeners' ends.
All right, all right. So, okay, like I was saying earlier, and like the viewers already know, we always start out with just a couple of easy icebreaker questions just to get the conversation going. So the first icebreaker question is actually a two-part question, and that
Okay.
is, what is your favorite location you've been to, and what is your bucket list location?
Favorite locations that I've been to. So far, we have done nearly about 25 investigations in about 4 years. And we've investigated many different locations. And I think for me, I would like to say that probably the first one would probably be the lightship Overfalls. It's obviously this lightship that is in Lewis, Delaware. Obviously, it's basically like this was actually created in 1938 by the U.S. Coast Guard in Massachusetts, and there's only about 5 or 6 lightships left in the United States. And my team did a paranormal investigation there in November 2022, and there we captured an EVP, a Class A, that said "Hello, help me" from this woman's voice, and we made the local news down there, and Draper Media as well as the Cape Gazette picked up on the story and published it in their magazine and their newspaper. So also bucket list location, I think for me would probably be the Winchester House out in San Jose, California. As you know, guys know, in order to appease the obviously the spirits that were killed by the Winchester repeating rifle, Sarah Winchester built this home and basically continued to build on and on up until her death in the early 1920s. And many people have reported seeing her spirit in different parts of the Winchester House. So those are two dream locations I think that every paranormal investigator would love to investigate one day. The Winchester House has so much history to it too.
Yeah, and the reason why she kept building on and on was because she thought it would protect her from the spirits. So she was trying to protect herself. So yeah, that would be a cool location. So, all right. Next icebreaker question is, what is your favorite piece of equipment? What is your go-to piece of
Favorite.
equipment? And you can't say yourself because we all know that we're the best piece of equipment. So what's the best piece of equipment that you had to pay for?
Oh man, we've got so much stuff. We got so many different pieces of equipment, from obviously SLS cameras to lighted dowsing rods to paralanterns to ovuluses to. I think for me, the best piece of equipment that we've gotten our best, obviously, evidence in over the last like 4 years is probably the thermal imaging camera. And the reason why I love the thermal imaging camera is that basically auto mechanics use it to go and look at like when a car is having problems, like auto repair, mechanics are looking at it to find like maybe some kind of part that's overheating. You can use that to look inside your car's engine. And another thing you can also do is you can also use it for like when missing people go out in the wilderness. The helicopter search teams will often use thermal imaging to determine where somebody is at. So for me, I like the thermal imaging camera. It's highly accurate, And also, of course, you can never go wrong with just with a standard voice recorder that you buy at any Walmart or any like a digital voice recorder, because sometimes some of your best evidence is your EVP. So I think those are my go-to ones, and of course the EMF meters. I rank those as my third favorite, just because they're simple to use, and obviously they're all measured a milligauss. So if you can pick up like some kind of EMF field that's not an electrical appliance, you might have something paranormal.
Exactly. You know, with my team, anytime we have a trainee join or whatever, because we're a big team, we have 15 members. Anytime we have a
Wow.
trainee join, yeah, and anytime we have a trainee join, I I require them to have two. I require them to get two pieces of equipment. I require them to have a flashlight and then a voice recorder. Because, like you said, that's sometimes you catch the best thing on the voice recorder. I'm stuttering all of a sudden. I agree with you on the thermal camera too. That's like my go-to piece of equipment right there, because you can't fake it. You either have something or you don't. My best story when it comes to the thermal camera, we have this location that we investigate. I actually use it as my training location, and I host teams there and stuff. It's an abandoned hospital. It's been abandoned since 1980. It's been abandoned since 1988. It's 4 stories, full-size hotel. I mean, full-size hospital. The third floor was hospice and psychiatric ward. So it's everything. And so one time we were there, and it's in Carroll, Illinois too, which is Carroll, Illinois is basically a ghost town anyway. So we were. So I was hosting a team there one time. I was hosting JB Coates. If you know JB, everybody
Yeah.
knows JB. So JB we was hosting her and her team, and so I was playing more. I was being more of a tour guide than I was an investigator that day, which I hate
Okay.
because I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing this as longer than Chris has been alive. So I like to investigate. That's my passion. So, but I was having to play tour guide, to show them around. So JB's thing is JB loves to go live. That's her thing. She always wants to go live, no matter what. So we was on the third floor, and she decided to go live. And like I said, the third floor, the south side was the hospice ward, and the north side was the psychiatric ward.
Oh
So
wow.
we went in the psychiatric ward, and JB goes live, and I'm just talking, giving the history of the place. And while she's live, I get a big scratch across my face.
Ooh, that must have hurt too.
Yeah. So anyway, so we continued on, and I decided to take a picture with a thermal camera, and at this time, the only people that was on the floor was two of my team members, Dennis and Denise, who happened to be husband and wife. So I took a picture of Dennis and Denise, and when I took the picture and looked at the thermal camera, I had Dennis, I had Denise, and then I had a 6'4" humanoid shape heat signature. So we had
Wow.
Dennis, Denise, and somebody. So like you said, that's like that's a class A evidence right there. You can't argue with that. So yeah. So I love the thermal camera, and one thing, when people ask me to describe my team and stuff, what I tell everybody, it's kind of our catchphrase, if that's what you want to say. We do old school style with new school technology. So we do the old school and the new school. So
Nice.
because I'm actually a clairvoyant, so I can speak to it and all that stuff. So we use the pendulums and the dosing rods and all that stuff, but we also use the SLS and the Paratech
Nice.
and and a lot of people, they're like, you don't need all that scientific stuff. But one thing I found out, and I mean, you can agree with me or disagree with me. We'll get your opinion after I say it. But especially if I'm doing like a residential investigation, it's a lot easier for me to go. It's a lot easier for me to go to the homeowner and be like, "This is what I can show you. This is what I captured on the thermal camera. This is what I captured on the Ovilus." It's a lot easier for me to go to a homeowner and say, "This is what I can show you," than it is for me to go to a homeowner and be like, "This is what we feel is going on." So that's the reason I like the scientific stuff.
Exactly, because
So
remember, when you're using the scientific method, you're creating a hypothesis, you're developing it, you're testing it, and then you're trying to see if you can use that and see if you get any kind of results that the client might feel comfortable with. So that's the whole key of using the scientific method. As investigators, we are always using it to understand the process of understanding, like, developing something and making a guess, and then pretty much seeing if we can have results that are conclusive, that can help the homeowner understand what's going on.
Right, because it is a pseudoscience, but it's still a science. And that's one thing I tell people all the time. I used to travel around all the time and speak at Paracons and that stuff. I haven't done a Paracon since my brain surgery, but I still like teaching. That's my favorite thing. I love training people. I love teaching. I love making the field better. So one thing I tell people all the time, we got all this fancy equipment, but what you have to realize, none of this equipment was actually originally made for paranormal investigating. It was adapted to paranormal investigating. So whatever piece of equipment you're using, you have to understand what kind of false positive it gives. You have to understand how the equipment works.
Exactly.
A good example of that is the SLS camera.
Right.
It's probably the biggest thing right now. Everybody loves the SLS camera, and the newer version, the 1.5 version, is actually a lot better. But when the SLS first came out, it gave so many false positives because it would pick up anything. I had an SLS actually pick up a pile of clothes as a human.
Right. And so that's why, you have to mention really quick, is with the SLS, make sure you use like solid walls, because if there's like a water bottle, a chandelier hanging off a ceiling, any kind of like wall fixture, like a coat rack or anything like that, it's going to map it like an entity, and you're going to think, oh, I have some kind of entity here, but basically all it is, it's picking up on that,
anything human shape.
Exactly. So you have to make sure you use solid walls, because solid walls are pretty conclusive, because that means that nothing's there. And you want to make sure you have it also with the lights on too, to see if it's going to map something, because a lot of times you can get a lot of false positive from from your own shadow reflection on the wall. That can create a false positive. So you have to make sure you use it against.
The best SLS evidence I ever got, the worst I ever got, because like you said, I do this all from a scientific standpoint. So I try to debunk all my evidence. I try to debunk it before I present it as evidence. So we were investigating this place that we go to twice a year. It's known to be historically active. One of my good friends out of Tennessee, Damian Christie, he actually considers it the third most. He actually considers it the third most active location he's ever been to. So there's a lot of history there.
Yep.
So we were going there. It was the Black Hotel during segregation. So it's crazy active. So the first time we went there, we actually got like violent pushback activity, which we wasn't expecting. But it's like I told everybody, there was 16 white people there. These spirits thought they were getting ready to be, getting ready to be hung or something. So that's why they were. But anyway, so through the story about the SLS, we were there one time and we were hosting it, but we also had a trainee with us. And she's one of these people that got into paranormal investigating because of the para pop culture. She saw it on TV, so she decided she was going to become an investigator. So she joined our team, and when somebody joins our team, there's actually a process to it. You don't just say, "Hey, I'm part of Ken 10 Paranormal." We actually have an orientation. We actually have a training program, and stuff. So she was in. This was her first investigation. She was still a investigator in training. So she has a little SOS, and she's doing all this stuff, and she sends it to me, and she's thinking she caught this great evidence. Well, so I'm reviewing everything to put together the video to give to the client, and none of her evidence is included. And she's like, "Why didn't you include any of my evidence?" So I take her back to the thing, and what she was sending me as SLS proof, she had SLS of the stair, the pillar at the bottom of the stairs. That's what she's picking up. And I was like, "That's nothing but the staircase." I was like, "That's not evidence." I was like, "If you're going to be part of the team, you have to learn to know what's actually evidence and what's not evidence." So that's my bad SLS story. My good SLS story is I had the newer version now, the 1.5 or the 2, whatever you want to call it, the new one that has, and with it has a delay on it that helps to keep so it don't get as many false positives. So we were investigating this hotel, and what's interesting about this hotel is only one room in the hotel is haunted, but this one room's got 4 verified murder suicides in it, 4 of them, and the last one they never even found the body.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
so yeah, crazy. So the it's a husband and wife team that owns it. So anytime the wife goes in and cleans the, she gets scratches. The cameras move. Your typical stuff. But
Right.
she would never let her husband have anybody come look at it because she didn't want it to be labeled as a haunted location. She didn't want that stigma. Well,
So she would kind of keep it like under wraps.
yeah. But they're selling it now. First, she's like, have somebody come and look at it. So they contacted us, which was fine. I took it as a privilege, but it was a 5-hour trip for us. So we go out there and we check into this room, and we find out all the history. But what was cool is so I never get a whole lot of stuff with a cat boy. I know a lot of people love cat boys, but I never get a whole lot of stuff. But at this location, we check into the room, and it's got your standard hotel dresser, nice, long and flat.
Right.
So I put the cat boys down, and something
I,
takes
I
over
have a
one of the
question. I have a question.
Okay.
Do,
Okay.
is there ever a time that you feel uneasy or some dark watching you when you're investigating?
So is this for me?
What?
Oh, sorry. Is this for me?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay. So, uneasy. Yes. A lot of times we go into homes and businesses, and there are times when we feel very uneasy. It depends on like the location and the amount of history that's involved in the location. Many times we've, gone into places where literally, like you can see, like literally, pretty much our psychic medium Melissa, who's not here today, she'll pick up on things literally before the investigation, and she feels very uneasy about the place. And then we go in and use our equipment, and we find out we use things that pick up, like our equipment picks up things that are spot on with what she's feeling and what she's seeing. And a lot of times we've also had this impression of being watched and hearing footsteps, as well as the laughter of like children. So many times we've gotten very uneasy in different buildings that we've been in, just because when especially when you're alone investigating versus with a group, because when you're investigating as a team, and not like separate, it's a lot easier to pick up you don't pick up on as much things. But when you're isolated by yourself investigating, I've been pushed. I felt like the cold chills of something touching me. So it's very easy to do that, because especially depending on what location you're at too. Are you in a historical society, asylum? Are you in just a regular
A
residential home?
prison? A
So it all
prison?
depends on like the type of location that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and one thing I tell people all the time is you have to trust your feelings. You know, even if you're not technically a clairvoyant or whatever, the more we do this, we develop a sixth sense. So if you're at a
Right.
location and you have a feeling that you should leave, you should probably leave. That's
Right.
so Damien has a question for us going back to the SLS. So
Sure.
his question is, and I'll let you answer it first, and then I'll answer it. I'll give my opinion. His question is, how do you rate the SLS from Android or iOS? So how do you compare the SLS on your phone comparing to an actual freestanding SLS?
I think the ones on the phone obviously could be very skewed, because they're not like real piece of equipment. They're just an app that is using like pretty much just like that. You pretty much anybody can develop an app. So I think using the real full scale SLS camera is highly, highly recommended. The SLS was originally created by a guy named Bill Chappell around 2014, 2013. I've known Bill a long time. He's since retired and sold his company over to Ghost Stop, and Sean Porter and all them guys. But when the SLS first started, it was a wonderful technology that's been kind of unproven, because it was using the Xbox Connect technology to map entities, and obviously there's this brand new one from Relatively Paranormal that's way better than, it's called the XLS camera. From it does 2 and 3D
That's right.
mapping, and and I've known Todd Sylvia for a long time. And this does like everything that the original SLS did, but it takes it further because the 2 and 3D mapping is absolutely amazing. And so I think the SLS that you use on your phone can be obviously very false positives because it's basically not made to. It doesn't have the type of lens and focusing that the obviously the Xbox Connect technology uses. So I think I would try to stay away from any kind of apps when doing paranormal investigating because obviously you get a lot of false positives. For example, you're using an EMF meter on an app versus actually using a really like a tri-feld EMF meter. It's going to basically create a lot of false readings. So just stick with the equipment actually because you can't go wrong. So I think for anybody that's starting out to doing paranormal investigating, just get like yourself. You can buy yourself a really nice SLS camera for around little $200 to $300 or not much, and you can get a really nice quality one that has like two obviously from Relatively Paranormal, and I can even include the link to your listeners to order one, just a real basic one that does some of the readings. So for around 300, which is a great price. So obviously you don't need like an expensive SLS, just one that can just do the mapping, and basically that can you can aim against solid walls and you keep your lights on so that way you're obviously know exactly what you're, and make sure that there's nobody in the area when
Yeah.
you're mapping as well. You got to hold it steady, and that's the biggest thing. That's something that Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters taught me. I've met him multiple times and been a very good friend of his. So you want to make sure that when you're near a solid wall, and make sure that you get a nice SLS that basically is not used from the app. Stay away from the apps because they're very skewed. What do you think?
Here's
So
my thing. Here's my thing. Hang on
go
one
ahead,
sec.
Chris.
I was
Go
going
ahead.
to tell him, did you know spirits are actually known to make phone calls?
Yes, I've heard about that too, and obviously some spirits can use like phone calls from pretty much being able to sometimes like sometimes I said that's why the Ouija board it's very easy, like for example ghost dials, sometimes they can just pick up, like we have an device called the Paratronics Oracle. It's based off the Paranology's gyroscope. It looks like, I like to call it the ghost dial because what it does is the Oracle is an improved version of the gyroscope that uses like static electricity, and you put your hands on one bulb, it'll light up yes, no, maybe, and then the other ones will spell out words. So I think that kind of like the old the old phone dial, you would go ahead and
Yeah,
move
first time I
from.
saw one of those used was on 28 Days Haunted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Those are really cool
Yeah.
devices, and the new Oracle is really great because it actually talks and everything. Jerome Jones's original Paranologies or gyroscope did not talk, so obviously Alan Whitmore, who's great, he develops the motion tunes. He developed the new version of the Oracle, and that works absolutely fabulous. So that you can actually get that. It works similar to a phone. I like to call it the Ghost style.
Okay, so
It's
here's my
just
opinion.
it's just weird how they make phone calls, you know?
Yeah, I believe that there's a lot of people that report like with near death experiences. I remember I've had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Raymond Moody sometimes, and some people that have had loved ones that passed away. For example, think back. I remember one time when Gary Galka, who's a famous paranormal investigator, one time he obviously thought he got a call from, obviously, like he somehow, his daughter is like, he ended up picking up the phone one time, like, and then he heard his daughter Melissa Galka's voicemail, and somehow his passed daughter had passed away. Her phone supposedly picked up on she called him from beyond the grave. And I believe Gary Galka, like creating the mail meter as well as the PSB 7 PSB 11 spirit boxes. Supposedly he claimed he got one time a phone call out of nowhere, and his deceased daughter's voicemail picked up on the when he went to pick up the phone on that end. I do believe some spirits do have the ability to
Mhm.
manipulate electromagnetic energy to be able to, sometimes give us like, signs of their presence. Could be a feeling, could be a smell, could also be a phone call. There's different ways that they can use it, and especially if they're intelligent, spirits.
Walkie-talkies.
Walkie talkies, yep.
Oh,
Using all that
definitely
white
walkie
noise and
talkies.
stuff,
Hmm.
like especially for the spirit boxes, is like one thing I love about the spirit boxes, the PSP 7, PSP 11, the S box, is that they use the radio waves, and they're using the obviously the white noise inside of those to communicate with words. Sometimes you'll get syllables, and sometimes you'll get like actual full sentences. So by using that white noise, you can sometimes use a portal box and clean up the the sounds, and sometimes you get intelligent responses out of that. So I think that spirits can use radio frequencies as well to manipulate and communicate with us.
Oh, he froze. He froze a little bit.
My opinion is some apps are okay. I'm not an app person. I don't use them. But one thing, like you said, Josh, one thing an app can definitely not do is it cannot do EMFs. No EMF reading from a phone is ever going to be accurate because the phone itself gives off such a high EMF number. How are you going to get an EMF reading for something that's already giving you like a 12 on the EMF? So that would never work. On the SLS technology from a phone, like you said, it's basic technology. It's not on the same level as the connects or anything. So it's going to pick up anything and everything. So it's not reliable. Your best bet is just to go ahead and invest a little extra money into getting real equipment. But I will say this: you can use a phone as a voice recorder. As far as that technology.
Oh yeah, definitely that works.
Yeah,
we've gotten a lot of numerous responses.
Yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, your phones nowadays are basically just mini computers. So
Right.
just test everything out. Anything I add to my toolbox, whether it's something I bought, like I said, my SLS came from Relatively Paranormal. So like you said,
same as me.
So-
Like I love God.
But before I add anything to my toolbox, it
Be
goes
right back.
through three. Okay, it goes to three investigations with a testing. So I can find out if it's actually accurate or what. I don't have an Oculus because I'm not spending $800, but I do have a Paratech VM5, which is the same technology. And
Yeah,
and
and the great thing is too is you can pretty much get like the same thing for cheaper. Like for example, the Ovuluses right now are selling on GhostStop.com the 5 for pretty much around $600. You can get like a one with the same kind of word bank for like $300 or $200.
Yeah,
Does the same thing.
I bought my Paratech VM5, which they only made a limited amount of those, so you can't even buy them anymore. If you do find one for sale, they're about three times what they originally cost. Originally they were like $400. So if you can find one now, you're paying like $1,000 for them. I bought mine from Steve Gonzalez.
Steve Gonzalez from Ghost Hunters?
Yes. He was actually upgrading his equipment, so I bought it from him. And so that kind of eases me into the next question. We've kind of already answered it, but I'll ask it so we can officially answer it. What is your opinion on apps for investigations?
Stay away from them. Keep clear of them. Do not use any kind of apps at all. False positive, false positive, false positive. Because the technology in these apps is developed by average everyday people, like programmers, and it's not proven to be useful at all. Go to like Ghost Hunter Store, theghosthunterstore.com or ghoststop.com or
Ghost Scare.
Like any of those places. Just get like real equipment that actually works. The apps and stuff are unproven in the field of paranormal research. They have no real intrinsic value. Go get yourself a real like EMF meter that actually has a needle on it, like a Ghost Meter Pro or a Trifeld, the old school 100 XC Trifeld, which I have Ryan Buell's from Paranormal State's old Trifeld meter. I also, or a millimeter.
I use the millimeter. Yeah, that's what I use. Yeah.
It works really great. So You go with stay away from the apps. Don't even use them, and go. I can even include links, and check out ghoststop.com. They sell a lot of really nice, affordable kits that you can buy. You can buy an entire kit for like $130. That includes like an EMF meter, voice recorder, dowsing rods. They have like these little kits put together. Get something like that instead of investing in like paying like $50 for an app that doesn't work. Go with the actual equipment because you can't go wrong. Because
You get what you pay
apps
for.
basically. What's that?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, I'm not going to be one of these people who completely say. Most apps even say, if people actually read when they download, they actually say entertainment purposes only. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So if it says entertainment purpose only, that should let you know they're trying to tell you. Don't try to tell us it's real when we, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, moving on. So let's talk about what kind of investigator. What's your team's investigation style? What's your technique? Do you think you use the scientific method? Just walk us through what an investigation with your team is like.
Sure. So obviously, what we do first is we have our own case management system. So let's go through the genesis of Phantom Detectives and how I founded it, and how I did all the beginning process. So I'm going to say the first step in the process we created our own case management system. So obviously, as you know, like there's a lot of different places out there. There's a directory called paranormalsocieties.org where you can list your team and your services. But what we did, we went ahead and streamlined everything. So if a client wants an investigation done, they go through our website, phantomdetectives.org. We created a form that our webmasters developed. Our entire webmasters went ahead and created a form. So you can create your own form and then have it sent to your email. The client will fill out all the information. Is it intelligent haunting? What kind of feelings are you hearing? Footsteps, bangs, include as much information in the case report form. Then what we do is we have that and they send it to our case manager. And then our case manager, Melissa Ferrazano, who's not here today, then she says, "Hey team, I got we have a 3-piece team. We have a smaller team, but we like it that way because we're very effective." And then once our case manager shows us the form, then we look at it and then we set up a client interview. The client interview is a very, very important process because that can establish credibility with the witness or Rick Warner. Like Rick Warner likes to say, obviously he comes from the UFO world. Is you want to try to be able to make sure that the client is not like hallucinating or creating false things. So doing the interview with the client gives you the opportunity to sit down and talk with them about like what are they experiencing? Are they experiencing obviously seeing a full body apparition, partial body apparition? Are they reporting seeing a demonic or residual haunting? So you want to establish as much information when you can with the client before you go in. And then once you have an idea of what you're doing, then you can go ahead and set up the time and date for the investigation. And then, usually what we like to do is once we have everything set up, a lot of times if we're doing a demonic case, we'll go in there, bless ourselves, we'll use holy water and sage, and we'll, put holy water ourselves and like use sage, like, and pray and say the Lord's Prayer and prepare ourselves that way. And then, of course, some of the techniques that we use a lot of different ones, taken from a lot of different influences, like all these different shows, and put them all into one. Of course, we set up a 4-camera DVR system. I love the DVR system because it's great because your home security system, if you're not in a room, that if you put a camera in an active room, you might be able to catch a shadow or some kind of, some kind of basically, some kind of light pattern that, or orbs. So that's what's really great about having a security system is that when you're not present in a room, that camera is on there watching that room, and you might pick up on, like, you might catch an EVP on the security system, which works great. So that works absolutely awesome. And then some of the techniques that we use is, of course, we start off every investigation with digital camera pictures, also EMF meter sweeps, just trying to see if you can try to get like any kind of spikes on the EMF meter. Also doing checking the do thermal imaging. So obviously our psychic medium Melissa will take pictures, and then we'll start with thermal imaging pictures and EMF sweeps and see what we capture. And if there's any kind of spikes, then we'll go back and do those rooms. And then after that, we also incorporate dowsing rods because our team member Rick is very skilled, there's these lighted dowsing rods from North Canton Paranormal Detectives, NCPD, Ohio.com, and they're great because especially if you're filming your investigations, you can use the lighted dowsing rods. You can change the colors on the spot. You can change from red to blue to green to yellow, and they work absolutely fabulous. And then of course using pendulums is another thing. Rick is very skilled at, like, you get the yes no, and if you hold the pendulum steady, and sometimes you can get some amazing spirit responses. And then a lot of times Melissa will also use spirit dice because as a psychic medium, usually we don't give her any information at all. She'll walk in just kind of blindly and feel the place out. She'll use spirit dice to put together words and things that she's feeling. And then when you have the obulus nearby, if you get a match from the obulus with your psychic mediums picking up, like using spirit dice, you might have a positive correlation between some kind of haunting. So that's another technique you can also do. And what's cool is not only that, but we've also improved the Estes method. We have our own version of the Estes method called the Chairs Warner Spirit Box Session. So you've seen the Estes method on Kindred Spirits with Amy Bruni and Adam Berry. And what they do, of course, is they use a blindfold and they use like a spirit box and they start scanning the AM/FM stations. We've refined it and made our version better. What we do is we take a tripwire EMF cable and kind of, put it around a circle and where the area that we are investigating. And then we have an EMF meter going off. So obviously we have like the simple A+1 EMF meter, which is really great on Dave Giuliano's Ghost Hunter store. We set that up and we set up some voice recorders. And then what we do is, we set up a portal box. And then what we do is we have Melissa have a scrying mirror. The psychic medium has a scrying mirror. We'll have the two versions where she'll put these Gansfield style goggles on as well as a blindfold and, do that way. And then after that, then we'll set her up with a scrying mirror and then she'll look into it and sometimes she'll see things and she'll start feeling things that way. So we have our own modified spirit box session. It's basically better than every other method of communication. It's taken the Estes method and putting on steroids, adding more to it, and it works really, really well. And then, of course, we also have
we do a similar thing.
Nice,
like you
very
said,
cool.
we can do this, and we use we have a modified welding helmet that we customized, and
Nice.
like and then we do the tripwire with circle, and then we do
Nice.
instead of spirit box we use the Paratech and just put it on the headphones and stuff. So some stuff, and we do our investigation, our pre-investigation pretty much like you guys do. We do we have a where they can contact us, on Facebook or through our website, and
Awesome.
and then once they contact us, I'm the first contact. So they contact us, and I call them or they call me, and we'll do a phone interview. And when we do the phone interview, we'll do a phone interview, and then once we do the phone interview, if I decide that that there's maybe something there, we'll set up an actual in-person interview. And then when we do the in-person interview, we have an actual form with questions like you said. We try to find out as much as we can. We even go as far as what's the religion of the family, did anybody play with Ouija board, as much information as we can. And then we do a mini walkthrough at that time. So when we do the in-person interview, there's only three of us. There's me and my two team leads. That's who goes. So me and Jill are the ones that are talking to the client, and Jill's the one that's writing it. Jill's writing down the answers and recording it, because believe it or not, I'm actually deaf in my right ear because I had a grenade go off when I was in Bosnia. So I'm 96% deaf. So sometimes I have problems hearing. That's why I'm the perfect person to do the Estes methods. But anyway, so we go and we do while me and Jill are doing the interview. Tiff or Dennis, which either team lead I take with me, they're doing like a mini investigation. They're doing a walkthrough with the mail meter, and they're doing a walkthrough with the SOS, and they're doing a walkthrough with everything to get readings. So for example, we did a really active residential in Union City, Tennessee, and for whatever reason, their Wi-Fi box was giving out crazy EMF. I mean, Wi-Fi boxes usually give high EMF, but I'm talking about it was
Right.
giving it like 114. So
Right.
we made notes on that if you're in the living room, EMF readings probably not legit. So so that's the kind of
Exactly.
stuff we do that's the kind of stuff we do in the interview, in-person interview. And then once we do the in-person interview, me and my team go back and we discuss what we find, and if we decide that we need to move forward, then we call and set up the actual interview. So
Gotcha.
the actual
So you guys got a similar.
actual
So you
investigation.
guys,
Yeah,
so you guys have a similar process basically with the intake form and in-person phone interviews and then doing a walkthrough. So it's very similar to what we do and kind of making sure you're trying to establish credibility and making sure that the person's not like hallucinating. For example, I mean, a kitchen appliance ain't going off and basically they're seeing like full body apparitions. So you're trying to establish that what they are experiencing is actually something legit versus not something that you're just like making up or just so you want to try to make sure that the client is being serious about their claims. That way you can try to see if you can establish like a way to help them and assist them with what's going on in their home and business so you can try to give them answers to what's out there.
exactly. So moving a little bit further, but still along the same lines, because you talked about how you do holy water and sage and stuff before you go into an investigation. We actually do we actually pray before we go in. It's just
Okay, cool.
just a generic uh, prayer protection is basically what it is. Basically it's I actually got it from Bishop Long, the exorcist. It's actually a prayer that he gave us. But basically, it's just asking for nothing evil to attack us and for the spirits to feel comfortable talking to us. So Damien, our friend over here, Damien is not a fan of protection going into an investigation. He thinks his opinion, and I'm not just going to disagree with it because it's one of those things. Everybody's opinion is different, but he thinks that by providing protection, the spirits aren't as likely to speak with you.
Yeah, because sometimes you have to like make sure that you're using things like, and I often say, obviously the best way to go into, the home is basically like respect for the home, respect to if you basically treat the spirits how they want to be treated, and like think of them like thank you for allowing us to come in your home, thank you for communicating with us, and usually I often say like treat the spirits like as it's basically like make them feel welcome, and by obviously be welcoming and kind, you're going to get like a lot of. Don't use the old Zach Baggins method of if you did it to him, he'll do it to you. That
No.
is,
We don't say that anymore here.
yeah,
That's a cuss word there, Joshua. No, but the thing is, and no disrespect to Zach. I mean, he's done some good stuff. He's done a lot of bad stuff. But Zach even admits that he's an actor. I mean, that's what it says in his profile. That's what, and if you ask him, that's what he tells you, that he's an actor playing a paranormal investigator. He's not actually a paranormal investigator. So yeah,
exactly.
and that's something I'm going to go a little bit. I'm going to move a little bit ahead, and then I'm going to backtrack. So, but that's one thing, and that's going to kind of be my next question. So I'll kind of let you know where I'm going.
Actually, Zach has gotten better.
He has. His new show, the one where what is it? The one where he does actually when he goes to homes is actually a lot better.
Yeah.
But my next question, we're going to finish on the investigation style, but the next question is going to be about how the para-pop culture, that's my word, is the para-pop culture, how the para-pop culture has affected the paranormal field. But let's go back to the cleansing and stuff.
You should when you get a chance, you should watch his house calls.
Yeah,
I've seen that show on like.
It's a lot better. I saw an episode one time where one of the clients was actually trying to fake the stuff, and he caught her out on TV because he's like, do you not realize how much resources goes into this? But anyway, so yeah, back to you talk about talking to the spirits and making them feel comfortable. That I say it all the time, and I post it on my team's page. To treat the spirits just like you talk to the spirits, just like I'm talking to you. But the way I look at it, when we're going into a location that's presumed to be haunted, I prefer to use the term active because haunted gives it a negative context. Anytime you say it's a haunted location, everybody so when you go into a location that's active, we're really, if you think about it, we're really invading their privacy. That's their home. For whatever reason, they chose to stay there because spirits can leave whenever they want to.
Right.
So for whatever reason, something's keeping them at that location. So when we go to a location, we're actually the one that's intruding. It's not so like you said, we shouldn't go in like Zach, be provoking and stuff. Go in and talk to him. I'm big on introducing, like if I'm setting up my thermal camera or my infrared camera or my SLS or whatever I'm setting up, I'm explaining it to the spirit, because if they're a spirit from the 1920s or whatever, they're not going to know what a spirit box is. They're definitely not going to know what a portal box is. So I'm explaining it to them what it is, talking to them. Be like, and when they start, and if they give me a simple answer, I'm like, thank you for talking to me. I appreciate it. Can you keep talking to me? Stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, because I feel, and I say this all the time too. To me, our job ain't really to go in and prove whether there's spirits or not. Our job is to go into a location and make the spirits comfortable enough that they trust us enough to communicate with us. It's not
Exactly.
to go in and... So anyway, moving on to the next question. Are we ready? So
Yes.
We know what it is. How do you feel that the para-pop culture has affected the paranormal field? Yeah, and yes, para-pop culture is my word. But so I'll let you answer that question first. But Damien again has another question. One of these days, I'm just going to let Damien ask all the questions on my whole show. I'm telling you. But Damien's got a question that's related to the subject. Damien asks, and I'll let you answer it first, and then I'll answer it. His question is, do you treat celebrities or well-known famous people with the same rapport as anybody else?
Yes, I actually have known many people since I worked with Art Bell, like a legendary late night talk show host. I pretty much know everybody. He's pretty much the godfather of the paranormal. He created Coast to Coast AM. So I pretty much treat paranormal celebrities as the same equal thing of respect as I do anybody else that I encounter out in the real world. To me, they're just regular, average, everyday people. Okay, they've been on television, they've been in magazines, they've been on radio shows and stuff, but I treat them as the same as any person that I would see having a conversation out in public. To me, they're just average people, everyday people that are just doing. Obviously they're well known on television, but to me, they're all people. They deserve to be treated with the same kindness and respect that anybody else that you would encounter out in the real world. So obviously, to me, they're no different to anybody out there. They're just trying to help, clients and homeowners. So obviously, famous people, they've been on television and all that, and they've been doing it longer. But to me, they're just obviously just people like you and I, just trying to help homeowners and business owners, trying to understand what's going on. So I believe that all of them, as long as they're being kind and nice to you, be kind and nice back to them, and have a conversation and show share evidence. And this is what it's all about. It's about para-unity. It's all about coming together as one. We're the paranormal field. We are all together in this to help people, and nobody's above anybody else. We're all equal. So I believe we should treat everyone equally in the paranormal field. It doesn't matter if they're from just someone starting out all the way to people like ghost hunters and ghost adventures. Obviously we're all in the same boat together. We just have to row together and help get to land, basically, by rowing together and helping each person. That's what it's about.
So yeah, so my little catchphrase, which Chris would tell you I use it all the time. You can ask anybody on Get Haunted. I use it all the time. So I think instead of saying pure unity, I go a step further and I say it's community, not competition. That's what it's supposed to all be about. It's supposed to be about what's best for the future of the paranormal field. We're supposed to be here making the paranormal field better than we joined it. So you said they've been doing it longer than us. Speak for yourself. I've been doing this for 30 years, Josh. Nobody's been doing
That's
it
a long
longer than
time.
me.
Like you've been doing it even longer. One of my mentors who I've been talking to a long time, who I look up to, who's been teaching me, is Dave Giuliano. He's been doing it for 30 years. I think Dave has been doing it for, I think, literally since the late 1980s. That's what he told me. And of course, I know obviously Mary Jo Chudley. She's awesome. I think she's had Penn Paranormal with her haunted doll collection since like '98. She's worked very hard to get to where she is, and she's great too. A wealth of knowledge. So, and of course, April Bissett. I love her. These are people that have been around a long time. When I have conversation, I soak up everything I can from them. Like people like Jason Hawes and people. I
Always
love
learning.
sitting
Yeah,
down.
always listen.
It's
Yeah, I mean
they
that's my
got so
thing.
much insight.
Another thing I say all the time is in the paranormal field, we're either green and learning or we're ripe and rotting. And I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years, but I still consider myself a student.
Jason,
You know,
Jason
and
Hawes. I
talking
was gonna
about the
say, I was gonna
what?
say, I was gonna say, Jason Hawes is a very awesome person in real life.
Oh, he's
Yes.
so kind. He's wonderful, and I know he's been going through a lot with. I feel bad. I don't want to keep this to a minimum, but I know he's been dealing with somebody with the Conjuring House. I've seen there's a lot of
Yeah.
on the field
Don't,
drama with that
don't
house.
mention
That's no name Dave.
that.
But I feel
No,
bad. That lady doesn't leave him alone. you know,
She's nuts.
like
She's freaking nuts. But
Yeah,
anyway,
she is.
so talking about my answer to the question of the para celebrities. That's another one of my terms. The para celebrities. You treat them just like anybody else. I'm really good friends with Gavin Kelly. If you know who Gavin Kelly
oh
is,
yeah.
he's got like
Oh yeah,
me.
he and my friend Craig Nearing and I founded the
I
Summer
know
Wind
Craig. Yep.
project up obviously in Wisconsin back in like 2014, and he's been doing all the on-site work. But Craig obviously, and I know Gavin have been doing a lot of stuff together, and Paula is great too. And they got
Yep. Yep.
obviously a show called Phantasmic Ghost Hunters, and Gavin's a former country singer too, which is really cool.
Yes,
He
that's
has
how we first became friends. We're actually from the same hometown. We're actually both from
nice.
Paducah, Kentucky. We actually both graduated from Heath High School, which don't even exist
awesome.
anymore. So anyway,
Nice.
me and Gavin are good friends.
That's awesome.
So as a matter of fact, he's the co-headliner for my Paracon in October. Him and Aaron G.
Awesome.
Thompson.
Nice. Very cool.
So anyway, so that gets to my point. So I'm good friends with Aaron G. Thompson. I'm good friends with Gavin Kelly. To me, they're just investigators. Matter of fact, that was the thing when Aaron first when Aaron first reached out to me about being part of the Paracon. To be part of my Paracon, I only want people there that's actually investigators. I don't care about your celebrity status. If you're not an investigator, I don't want you part of my event. So Aaron actually was a guest on the podcast first. And when he decided that, when I found out he was going to be a guest on my podcast, I had never watched at that point. I had never watched 28 Days Haunted. I had
Right.
never seen the show. So I had to download Netflix and watch the show because I had never watched it. So I wanted to know who Aaron was. So I got Aaron on the show, and come to find out he's not really. I wouldn't consider him a para celebrity at all. He's actually been investigating for 25 years. He's as much an investigator as me and you. He's a real investigator. So that's why he's part of my Paracon. That's why I consider him a friend. I can't wait to hear him speak October 12th at the Haunted Graves
Right.
Paracon in Mayfield, Kentucky. Tickets are only $10. People, come and get them. So you treat the celebrities just like anybody else. If they act like a celebrity, they're not really an investigator anyway. They're in there. They're there to be a celebrity. So that's
And
what you
a lot
gotta
of
look
these
at.
shows, and let me say, obviously these shows it's basically like WWE. It's entertainment. Like what's on television is strictly not like real. It's got scripts. It's got like it's basically entertainment. It's not like you have to take it at face. Yeah, some of it might be real legit evidence, but there's also 50% that's basically WWE style. It's got obviously writers. It's got production people. It's got editors behind the
It's a
scenes.
demon. It's a demon.
Exactly.
Not
So
not everything's a demon. And I mean, so yeah, and
I don't
that's the thing.
believe.
And
I
that's
don't
me.
believe. I don't believe in demons. So, sadly, I
Oh,
don't believe.
demons are out there.
Yeah,
Uh,
they are,
You
but
just got to experience it. That's the
but
biggest
the
thing.
thing is, you have to understand, it's the minority. You're talking about less than 1% of activity or demonic. And and I consider myself an educated person. I'm a Bible scholar. I went to Bible college. I took demonology classes from Bishop Long. Uh, I took paranormal parapsychology classes. So I consider myself. So yeah. So they're out there, but it's the minority. I say this all the time. Chris. You've heard me say it.
mhm.
What people have to realize, you know, just because a spirit is malicious or whatever doesn't mean it's a demon. When somebody dies, if they were a dickhead when they died, they're going to be a dickhead as a spirit. So that's what people have to understand. So moving on, because we're running out of time. Believe it or not,
Mhm.
this has been a good episode. That's how you know it's a good episode, when you run an hour and it doesn't even seem like an hour. So
Yes.
so so basically, uh, Joshua, you prefer Joshua or Josh?
I can either go by either one. Works for me. Joshua was fine. Josh, whatever you guys like to call me. I'm pretty laid back about either one.
Well, it's funny because my oldest son is named Josh.
Really? Just
Joshua.
like me,
And
basically.
like his whole life, he always wanted to be called Josh. And now that he's an adult, he wants to be called Joshua. I was like,
Wow.
yeah, so that's the reason I asked. So,
I would love to plug in my websites for you, so you can know how to reach us and all that. And
yeah,
obviously,
we're getting ready to go there. Let me see what Laura says here, and then we will get right there.
cool.
I let evil hang out with me. Am I wrong with them? I get bullied. I'm not going to say you're wrong. Joshua, you answer first, and then I'll answer.
Sure.
She says, "I'll let."
So,
Can you see
and
the
so
question
I think,
there?
yes, I see basically about the letting evil hanging out with you and rubbing the face that I do believe in God. Usually, the best thing that you want to do is, I think prayer has a very positive respect. And if you try to, obviously, you don't want to let spirits kind of bully you around. You want to make sure that you obviously say the Lord's Prayer. You want to try blessing yourself, because I believe that has a positive effect. It creates a positive aura around you. And there's an entire auras basically. That could be help you around and help you because Cindy Kaza teaches an entire class on this from the Holzer files about like auras and stuff, and how obviously you can see your different colors which are all around you. So I believe auras obviously are a big part of blessing yourself, and you can create like positive auras that'll help you get through any demonic case or anything that you're going through.
So I'm glad you mentioned your classes, because I had actually forgot about that, but I did want to talk about that. Your team, Phantom Detectives, is offering classes now. Do you want to talk a little
Yes,
bit about that?
sure. So we actually, obviously, I'll lead into plugging in my websites as well at the same time, as I can do all that. So to reach us, obviously, we have the world-renowned psychic lawyer Mark Anthony, many Oxford-educated attorney. His website, you can reach him at afterlifefrequency.com. That's afterlifefrequency.com. Our team member Holly Faust. Holly actually worked under Elfie Music of Penn State Paranormal Research Society. She was in PRS with Heather Taddy and Katrina Weidman. Holly is awesome, a wealth of knowledge. Her website's Holly Faust, HOLLYFAUST.com. If you have a UFO case you want checked out, obviously our lead investigator Rick Warner runs his own UFO
Oh, I know
organization,
him.
which is ERC, ERC, the number 2, explore.com, ERC2explore.com. He's also the U.S. ambassador to the Italian UFO Federation. It's ERC2explore.com. If you want to reach Melissa Ferrazzano, who is our psychic medium case manager, she's been taught by Cindy Kaza from the Holzer files. Her website is psychicmediumautumn.com. So it's like the word psychic, the word mediumautumn.com. And so now our paranormal investigator training classes, you can find those on our team website, and I'll talk about the dark matter news as well. But I'll first talk about phantomdetectives.org. So it's all one word, phantomdetectives.org. and you can click Paranormal Investigator Training. We have two different style of subscriptions available. The first one is the Patreon. That's a monthly subscription where you can just pay for a monthly recurring subscription, like for like $5, $10. Rick's got all the prices. He developed all that. So we also have in the Patreon every dark matter news file that Leo Ashcraft recorded for Art Bell. Art Bell is the godfather of paranormal radio. He had 18 to 20 million listeners in the 90s on Coast to Coast AM, world renowned. So you can find the Paranormal Investigator training courses by clicking Paranormal Investigator Training. That's the Patreon, so that's a monthly subscription. And then there's also the Udemy. Udemy is great for like instructional videos. So that's also available as well, Udemy. So you can click that Paranormal Investigator Training button on fansdetectives.org, and that will get you to the Udemy classes. And so also I wanted to talk about another special thing that we purchased in May of 2021. So I used to work for Art Bell's staff members, obviously in 2015, 2016, when Art came back for the final time. So in May of 2021, Leo Ashcraft, who actually ran the Mutual News out of Dallas, Texas, he actually worked for Art Bell as his affiliate director. He said, hey, I got this paranormal news service that I used on Art's radio show, Midnight in the Desert, for his final return ever. Art passed away in 2018, so we bought the Dark Matter News, which was a part of the Dark Matter Digital Network when Art streamed his shows in 2015. And darkmatternews.com is all things paranormal news, UFOs, ghost news, cryptid news. We cover all that, and I keep the website going as a tribute to Art's memory and his legacy. So that's darkmatternews.com. So there's how you can find all of our hubs.
Awesome. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's what really all I can say. That's awesome to keep his legacy alive. And that's one thing people have to realize. Most of the time, whenever they think of paranormal investigators, they all think about ghost hunters or whatever. And first of all, I'm not a big on the ghost hunter term anyway, because I'm not hunting ghosts. I'm trying to communicate with them. I don't have Casper hanging on my wall or anything. So, but it's not just ghosts. It's cryptids, it's UFOs, it's anything paranormal. So I think that's awesome. Anyway, thank you for being our guest, and I will be talking to you later, like I said, about getting together for an event. So,
sure.
Thank you for being on the show, and we will talk to you again later.
Thank you.
Artlist.io